everybody. Welcome to another episode of Off the Charts. As always, I'm Mike Lucas, CEO of True Shares. Today, I've got a person I consider a great friend. He's also a great advisor, and he is the owner and president of Oxford Retirement Planning, Retirement and Estate Planning. So I screwed that up a couple times. But Landon Randall, good to have you, man.
No, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me on and taking the time to share our story and our knowledge of what we're seeing in the industry. Just to kind of cover a little bit of background about me, born and raised in Arizona, joined the Navy in early 2001, not thinking we were going to war anytime soon. I wanted to travel and see the world. I got to travel and see the world for sure. Been around the world a couple times, lots of places. I was a helicopter door gunner, combat search and rescue, open ocean search and rescue. Flown about 37 combat missions over Iraq. Knew that that's not what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So before getting out, I met Mike Oxford. He's a veteran in the industry, just retired this year, 45 years in the industry. And I said, I know I don't have the gray hair like you and everyone else does in the industry, but I assure you just teach me everything you know. So got into the industry in early 2007. And you know what happened there at the end of 2007 going into 2008. So if anyone has questions on timing, I have impeccable timing. I got in the military before September 11th, and then I got in the financial industry before the 2008 Great Recession, right?
Next time you have a big decision, next time you got a big decision to make, let me know. We'll do an episode. We'll put it out
there. So I wouldn't change it for the world. Early on in my career, I was the outbound guy. We don't do this anymore, but I would travel all over the state for people that would call us for help. It was devastating to me to get out of the military where I was saving lives into an industry where I wanted to help people meet their retirement dreams and live their purpose of life, right? And as soon as I would show up at their house, they would answer the doors in tears, devastated. They lost 50, 60, 70. Some people lost everything in the real estate market, right? And I thought, man, there's got to be a better way so people don't make these mistakes. And so Mike and I sat down and we created our educational division, which is now called Dare to Retire You University. So Dare to Retire You is our university. And we started doing community outreach at local colleges. We teach at 5 different local colleges here in the Phoenix Valley, tax planning, estate planning, income planning, social security planning, whatever it may be in the retirement phase. And that's where a lot of clients come from. I don't think anyone cares about your money more than the client does it, right? Nobody cares about your money more than you do. I just want to be the second, right? I just want to be the second person that cares as much, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of a soundboard, a CFO for a lot of our clients. We have a lot of do-it-yourselfers, and I think that's fine. At the end of the day, though, most of the time I'm sitting with one of the spouses, right? And if the person that handles all the finances and does all of the planning, which normally there's only one, and it's trending more to be women nowadays, honestly. And when the spouse is gone, they don't know what to do. And that's the last thing you want is, well, we would say calling somebody out of a phone book you never met, but we don't have those anymore, right? Going on Google and searching for somebody, right? So, well, for a lot of our people, it's like, hey, they're meeting us and we're starting a relationship, but they don't really need us till maybe one's gone, right? I need to step in and help the spouse, make sure they're okay and have enough to make it, right? So, but that's where we started. Now, Mike came to me in early 2021 saying he wanted to retire. He was 63 at the time. And this huge transition, were we going to sell back to a JP Morgan, a large firm, where we would have got more money? At the time, I was vice president and a 20% partner. And I never wanted to, I helped Mike build this thing, right? Like it was a hard time in 09 and 010, almost closed at the door. So we really built everything together from that period of time. I struggled personally with saying, wait, I helped build this thing, this machine, and now I'm going to take a huge risk in my life, take a huge loan to then buy my partner out so they can retire, go live their lives after something I've already built. I really struggled with it. I told my parents my entire life, no way I'm ever doing this. Right. And then I sat down with the owners of our firm, Cody Foster, Dave Callanan, owners of Advisors Excel, AE Wealth Management. And they said, Landon, don't be stupid. You know, you could definitely sell to somebody internally here, but you got to change your ways. You're going to be working for them. We know who you are. Your type, your personality is not going to blend well with a lot of other business owners. You kind of swim in your own lane, right? Like, yeah. They're like, you need to bite the bullet and do it. So December 21, ended up buying Mike out of Oxford Retirement Estate Planning, and owned it all. Now, the problem that I had, and I think a problem that our industry, a lot of men in our industry, women are coming up, and I'd love to have a woman advisor. They're super hard to find, right? But we like to pound our chest like and name our companies after ourselves, right? Now, Mike Oxford, the founder, Oxford Retirement Estate Planning, great, it's his last name, but Oxford's a very popular name around the world, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
different industries. So for the marketing aspect, really struggled with that. And lots of people in our industry, you got, I don't know, Nick's Financial Planning and based after Nick, right? Like, come on, guys. If you're ever going to work your way out of the industry, you think somebody wants to continue in your name, right? And I wanted a slogan that clients would gravitate to. So the first thing that I did, I was sitting in a Darren Hardy business mastermind webinar. He's doing it online. And we were in the marketing phase, and he was talking about marketing, and he showed this video, and you can find it on YouTube. It's a Cadillac commercial. If you type in like their Cadillac commercial, and it was these different workers or people in different industries. It was like, I dare you to be strong. And I was like, oh my God, dare to retire, right? And
Yeah.
immediately, like, I didn't even finish the business mastermind, right? Immediately, I'm like on GoDaddy, searching the URLs available. I'm searching business name available, right? I reach out to a trademark attorney. Well, this class is all still going on. It's a 2-day class, right? Class, I'm talking to trademark attorneys. I'm like, not even focused on anything else, right? I'm like, I need that commercial made to Dare to Retire. And so I got it trademarked and launched Dare to Retire because I wanted to kind of get away from the name Oxford. I think from when we started with our firm, we were the only Oxford company. I think there's 3 or 4 now companies at our firm named Oxford something, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want to differentiate ourselves. So we launched Dare to Retire as our slogan. And we do a big state of the economy every year. This last year, you've been to the last couple of them.
Hmm.
This last year, we had about 800 clients there. Again, all educational. We bring in economists, money managers, people like yourselves to kind of explain what's going on in the industry to our clients. We like to keep them abreast. We don't want them to just hear from us as their advisors. We want to keep them in tune with what's going on in the world and some of the brightest minds.
Yeah.
So we do a big brunch every year. And so what we did is the first year in is we created Dare to Retire shirts with the slogan on it, and it had a QR code on the back that took them to the website so people could schedule meetings and stuff. And before we launched it, Mike and I had a conference in San Diego. We wore the shirts at a conference downtown San Diego, and we could not believe how much the public, people would just walk up to us in stores or restaurants and say, I'm getting ready to retire, love the shirt. It was a conversation starter. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap, we're really onto something, right? And so we created the shirts for all the clients to wear. We gave away like 600 shirts. People started wearing it. People stop in the office now on a weekly basis for hats, shirts, all different kinds of swag. They're like, it's insane. When I wear it out, people come up and talk to me. I wear it when I travel. Every flight attendant that I get on the flight, it's always, oh man, I'm looking to retire. You look at these flight attendants now; they're such happy people, right? It,
All right. So we've
it's
offended
like,
Nick. We've offended Nick, whoever Nick is, and now flight attendants. So we're good. We're good.
we'll knock out all of them. Okay, well, I'll hit all of them. But they're so happy people. They all look like they should be retired, right? And I got a lot of flight attendants as clients, and their leadership, they're senior, right? So they get to pick their schedule. Like, they have a pretty cake job, been there 20, 30 years, right? So I don't blame them for riding it out. But every one of them comes up, and man, I'm gonna retire. It's a conversation starter. So it's really picked up and grown. And so then we started branding out our Dare to Retire You, our university, for all of our educational classes.
Yeah.
And it's really taken off. So what it's kind of really turned into now is everyone knows us as Dare to Retire and not so much Oxford, which is what I wanted, right?
Hmm.
Because we are doing a huge name change. Mike finally retired the industry on July 1st, so he's no longer with us. And when you buy a practice in our industry, you buy the assets. You don't buy the company for liability reasons. So I always had my own company, Hybrid Retirement Solutions and Hybrid Wealth Management. That's actually technically the names of our company. So at this state of the economy coming up on February 6th, we're changing, we're explaining to all of our clients, hey, name change from Oxford, it's hybrid, right? And our slogan is still Dare to Retire You, which everyone over these last few years, since basically January 22, has gravitated to the Dare to Retire
Yeah.
slogan, not so much the company name. So the
That's how
transition,
I
they don't,
know you. Yeah.
right, right. That's what everyone knows, right? And so it's no longer, hey, who's Oxford Retirement, who's hybrid. They're focused on the Dare to Retire. And I think it's worked well with that because I think a lot of us would be concerned if we bought a practice. Oh, do I really rebrand and change the name if it's been that way for going on almost 30 years for us? Do you really want to do that? And most people would say, do not rock the boat. Don't do that. And when people tell me not to do something, I'm the first one. Absolutely, I'm doing it. Right? I got to give it the to me is tell me I can't do something. Okay, let me show you how. Um,
Like
Compliance knows
the
that. Very
first step is knowing yourself, right? So you've mastered
absolutely.
that one.
Mhm.
All right. Well, listen, Landon. So great slogan, right? So
Yeah.
you picked up on sort of the angle, but why does it resonate so much? Like, why does this generation have such a hard time, releasing the grip,
Yeah.
or starting to spend, right? In layman's terms.
Well, if you go back before this generation, which is really the baby boomers retiring now,
Yeah.
right? If you go to the generation, their parents before them, they didn't have the 401ks, the IRAs, right? It was pension plans and Social Security. It was all about income planning. That's what retirement, the number one principle of retirement planning is income planning. My paycheck is stopping and I need to replace it, right? But Wall Street has us convinced it's not about that. It's rate of return investing, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Don't focus on income. You need $1 million to retire. Now it's $2 to $3 million to retire. Just keep building it. And the government loves it because most of it's pre-tax money. Let's push the RMDs from 70.5 to 75, right? Kick the can down the road. Let the assets balloon because it's all taxable. So
Yeah.
everyone's playing right into the government's hands, into Wall Street hands. So then in the 80s, right, for the baby boomers, that's when the 401ks and IRAs really started. And the philosophy was, oh, it's so much better than a pension plan. You know, employers were lobbying, hey, we don't want to be on the hook for paying people 20, 30 years of their life. We're going to give them this awesome match, right? You get to save up and buy stocks and bonds, and it'll be so much better. You'll have so much more money in retirement. That may or may not be true, right? And then, you know, when you have downturns, the Y2K or 2008, the first thing all employers do, oh, we're not matching anymore. We're pulling back. We need to stay in business, right? Kind of defeats the whole purpose, right? So, so what happens here is these baby boomers now have ballooned. And I will tell you, their generation is so blessed. It didn't feel like it, but the most painful, most difficult time in their investing careers is how they got there, is how they made it, right? It's not the ups that we're seeing right now. The money was made in the 3 years of negative, 2000, 2001, 2002. In their life, they've never seen 3 years of negative on the S&P, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
for those 3 years, if they were dedicated in their plans contributing, they're buying on Black Friday for 3 years. And in 2007, when market got back to where it was at in 2000, they're seeing these huge rates of returns because they were buying the dip, right? And then they were blessed again if they stayed working. It didn't feel like it. But then, and also the market fast forward, it took 3 years to hit bottom in Y2K. You look at the '07 to '08 bottom March of '09, it took about a year and a half roughly to lose
Mhm.
that another 50%. So they got to buy again. And now look at where the market's at all-time highs, right? So now they're all going into retirement with these blossom 401ks, but they don't feel like they have enough to retire because they remember those downturns losing that 50%,
Yeah.
right? And they know that we all feel this. No one that I talk to today, unless it's Trump, feels comfortable, right? With where things are at. Work stage, if you look at the market cycles, right? Like nothing can go wrong. We got this war in Iran, oil prices, we got all this stuff going on in the world, yet these markets keep touting all-time highs, right? And it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And what I try to convince them is don't focus so much on rate of return. Yes, that's how we got there. And it's super hard to turn these 60 plus year olds that are savers into spenders. That's
Mhm.
that's how they're wired, was to save it. And now we're trying to convince them to spend, which is super difficult, right? Normally one
Mm.
spouse is good at that. They're like, yeah, spend, spend, spend. One's a spender and one's a saver, right? And so the other one's like, yeah, 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 let's spend. But the other one's like, no, 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 I want to cut back. And so retirement is really, for a lot of our clients, they got to get to a lot of people trying to retire before 65 where Medicare kicks in because the cost of, the ACA, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, is so expensive if you don't get these subsidies. And then, will those subsidies be there if I do retire 3 years early? Could they be taken away with the stroke of a pen, right? And adjusted. So that's another concern, but another topic for another day. But the problem is people blossom these IRAs, 401ks, and the question is how much do you need? The first conversation starter that we ask clients from all of our classes when they first come in, nice to meet you, all this stuff. How much do you think you need a month, right? Or a year in retirement? That is the first question all of us should be asking that are in the retirement planning sector, right? It's not about how much do you have, it's how much do you need. And Wall Street's very good, whether it's insurance companies on annuities, all the commercials, right? The Prudential commercials. You need $1 million to retire. You're going to spend $500,000 on healthcare over your life in retirement. Like, give me a break. If you're on the right Medicare plans, I don't see how that's possible, right? Maybe in long-term care, but they're touting Medicare. So the problem is the spending, right? And so it's really easy. What I learned is from all of our educational classes and the couple thousand clients we have, is most people are there. Most people that I sit with on a one-on-one that don't feel like they can retire, they're there. They just don't know how to put the puzzle together. And so I ask them, I say, well, how much do you need? And everyone from the classes that come in, I'll tell them straight up, 80% of you that come in won't know that number. And that's okay to not know. You're just not ready to retire yet. Now, my Honeywell engineers, they're a big employer here in Phoenix. They know down to a penny every hour what they spend. They come in with 10 spreadsheets, right? But the rest of them, we don't do that. And so when I ask them, I'd say, okay, well, they say, well, I really don't know how much I need. And I say, all right, well, let's backdoor this. You still working? They're like, yeah, I still work. I'm like, okay, well, what do you make? And then when you ask anyone what they make, they're always so proud of their number. They always throw out a gross number, which we know that's not what they're living off. So they're like, oh, I make 60 grand a year. I'm like, oh, okay. So you've been a teacher for 30 years here in Arizona, right? That's what they make. They're so underpaid here in Arizona, right? So I'm like, oh, you've been a teacher. I'm like, that's great. So it's 60 grand a year, but you're not living off that 60 grand a year. You get paid every couple of weeks? Yeah, I get paid every couple of weeks. What goes into your bank every 2 weeks? Everyone knows that number, right? And they're like, yeah, so after my 403B, 401k contribution, whatever plan, after their health care, after their FICA, their Social Security, Medicare tax, federal, state tax, everything coming out, I'm like, what gets deposited in your bank every 2 weeks? And they'll be like this, $1,800. I'm like, okay, so $1,800 every 2 weeks, call it $3,600 a month. Are you making ends meet or are you going into debt? No, I'm making ends meet. Okay. So if you had $3,600 net a month right now to make ends meet, could you retire? And majority of the people be absolutely. But they're focused on 60 grand, not the $3,600 a month. So they don't see how they could get to the 60 grand. Taxes are drastically different in retirement. Okay. Between the standard deductions, you don't have the Social Security, Medicare tax on distributions from IRAs and 401ks, right? It's just federal and state tax. So we look at that and I say, okay, let's build out a plan to get to $3,600 a month. Well, oddly enough, most people today, even if they're taking Social Security early, is call it $1,800 a month, right? So half of it's coming from their Social Security. So we need another $1,800 net off of their IRA or 401k. And it's just simple math to me. And I'll do this in class. I'm like, okay, $1,800 a month, call it $21,000 a year of income. What do I need saved up in a retirement plan to generate that? Okay, call it about $430,000. If I had $430,000 in a 401k and I pulled out 5%, 5% would be about 21 grand. And at a 5% withdrawal rate, not looking at inflation and rate of return, and we try to, as advisors, we try to overanalyze and make it too damn complicated for the average consumer to understand, right? So at a 5% withdrawal rate, I mathematically can't be out of money for what? 20 years. Okay, well, if I'm retiring at 65, life expectancy about 65 with no rate of return, about a 5% withdrawal will get me there. So I need about $430,000 saved up in my retirement plan to generate that 21 grand or $1,800 a month, right? Lots of people have $1 million, and it only takes half of what they have saved to generate with what they've got today. And then the other half of it, go ahead and leave in the market. Let's own the stocks, the investments for the higher rate of return. We're not going to be in need of that today. And so I'll just the numbers line up with 80+% of the people we meet that don't think they can retire are not there. They're there. They just don't know how to put the puzzle together. And so that's where the slogan really hits home. We're daring them to retire. Dare to check your numbers. Where are you at?
Yeah.
Look out ahead of time. Maybe you're mid-50s, maybe you're early 60s. Retirement's still a ways out. And when most people tell me when they're going to retire, and we're in that first meeting, I'm like, oh, you're there today. I'm like, no, they're like, no, I'm still going to go another few years. Within 6 months, they're calling us, right? Whether they tell us or not, I retired. Once they know, right, we tell them, hey, you're good. We can get you there and guaranteed, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're like, within 6 months, they're calling me. Yeah, I told my boss to F off. I'm over it. I had a bad day. I'm like, good for you. I've been waiting for
Yeah.
the call. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Once you
that's
plant
what's
that
really
seed.
going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, look, it's to me, the phenomenon is I get it. Conceptually, I get it. I get why, it's hard to loosen the grip. But it's interesting to see when you put that puzzle together for them. First, the light bulb's got to go on, right? First, they realize, okay, wait a minute, now I understand this equation, where previously it was, behind the curtain there, and I just listened to the wizard.
Yeah,
Um, and then you plant that seed, and how quickly it takes root, right? How quickly
right.
they start to think, well, wait a minute, wouldn't it be nice if I were traveling? I always see your clients,
Yeah,
I see on
yeah,
social media where they're holding their dare
yeah,
to retire signs where they end up. And
right.
that takes root really quickly because we were just disciplined and trained to go a
Yeah.
certain road. And eventually when, you understand you can deviate from that path finally, and go where you want, it takes root
Hmm.
really quickly.
It
Um,
does.
hmm,
I feel like we're creating like a movement. Um,
hmm,
I really do with our clients. So again, back to our state of the economy, we get 800 people in the room. One of the things that we have at all their tables, obviously pins, but we have a little goal card, 1, 3, and 5 year goals, right? They write those down, and when they leave our meetings, they all deposit them in a box, and then we gather all of those and we staple them to their files in our office. So when they come in for their annual reviews or a Zoom annual review, we're talking about those goals, right? Well, a lot of advisors are so focused on investment and rate of return and market cycles and all. No, focus on the client. What are their goals? Are we there? Why did we save all the damn money? Why did
yeah,
we save it? Did we save it all up for the kids or charities or no? And I'm not talking like the ultra high net worth. I'm
yeah,
talking about the average consumer, the average person out there, right?
yeah.
They saved it up to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor and live their life with purpose in retirement. Unfortunately, Mike, I sit here all too often. I'm going into my 20th year next year. And now I kind of refocused some of my thought process going forward with my clients. I'm working for these clients 19 plus years to preserve their wealth, grow their wealth, get their income, reduce taxes, get their estate planning, minimize the taxes, get it to the next generation. And what we're starting to see here is everyone is told they need a trust. No, that's not necessarily true. Not everyone needs a trust to avoid probate, right? We can discuss all of that another time. But what we're seeing here is I put in more time here at my office than I do with my family, than I do at home. My clients are my life and my family, and I put all this planning in, and then after a death, all that hard work is being ripped off because these kids don't know what they're doing. They don't understand how the IRS and the government changed the rules on inherited IRAs, 10-year distributions, and all the taxes, right? The government did this, everyone, because all that money's pre-tax. They push the RMDs off to 75. Life expectancy is 85. When parents die, their number one beneficiary or charity is their kids. Normally, when parents die, kids are in their highest earning years, which means they're in their highest tax years. They're going to get all this money and have to pull it all out and tax it at the highest damn rates over a 10-year period.
Mm.
So sometimes it's okay. Parents, just spend the damn money and enjoy it. Let the real estate grow where we have a step up of basis. Let your post tax, your most efficient, let your Ross grow tax free. Let that be the inheritance. But go ahead, withhold the tax and spend the damn money. It's the
Yeah.
most ill asset to pass on. In fact, I told my parents on all your IRAs, don't even name me as a beneficiary. It's just going to piss me off, right? If I'm
Yeah.
your beneficiary on an IRA, give it to my sisters that are lower wages, lower income, right? Lower
Mm,
taxes. Giving it
mm,
to me, a good half of it's going back to the government, right? That's just going to
mm.
irritate me, right? So, so my point here is these kids, they're not educated. They don't know who to trust. They may have their own CPA and advisors. Now the person that's been dealing with the CPAs, attorneys for the parents are now working with third parties trying to educate the kids remotely. They have attorneys in their ear trying to make a buck and say, you got to do all of this. You need to hire us to do all of this. The CPAs are in their pocket, and all
Yeah.
this hard work is going to attorneys, CPAs, and the government. Right. And I'm like, no, 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 no. If the parents knew that, they would have spent it. They would have spent it. You know what I mean? So that's why they did all of this planning. So now we're really focused on like executor, successor, trustee educational classes to educate the next generation. When you get this hit happens, how do we minimize the expenses coming out of it to everyone, right? So
Yep.
that's a huge push. But back to your thing about the flag with our community. So now at all of our events, we have these cool Dare to Retire flags, right?
Yeah.
And so when they're achieving those 1, 3, 5 year goals, when they have that grandkid, when they're buying that second home on the beach, right? When they're traveling to Australia, hey, we want to be a part of it. Take your picture with your flag when you're achieving your goals and send it to us, right? And now on daretoretire.com, we have the globe on there and we post their pictures. They give us, they rate their trip, anything that they could add. So now we have this traveling community of clients going all over the world with their flags, posting it, creating a
Yeah.
movement so others can see it and maybe ask them questions about the trip or what they liked or what they didn't like. So it's just growing. I'm a small shop, right? I'm here in Phoenix. I'm not nationwide. I don't want to be nationwide, but I know it's a nationwide brand, right? Like,
Right.
hey, I know down the road in 10 years, if I want to walk away with what we're building out, it's more than a financial planning shop. It's more than that. And so I'm excited to where we're headed over the next decade. We just bought a new, bigger building up the road, bought the building that we're in, just expanding because of the growth that we're seeing on the movement, on the Dare to Retire, and asking people, spend it. Spend it. That's why you
Yeah.
saved it.
Well, look, I can say firsthand because I've been to a couple of your State of the Unions. Like,
Yeah.
it resonates, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen the 800-900 people rolling in that room, and I've seen the reactions, and I've seen the light bulbs going off in the audience, and it resonates, man. It's great to watch, and I think it's a message that's important. And I think the editing room's just going to cut me out of this entire video, and probably give it to you.
Well, I'll
No,
give kind
no
of a
one's going to
teaser.
accuse you of not being passionate about it.
Right, right. Our last year, our theme was Back to the Future, and we had the DeLorean. I went back in time in an opening video, right, to all the major stock market things. So this year is Men in Black. We just shot the video last week, right? So the Men in Black cars of badass Rolls Royce, Callan,
Awesome.
right? That's our car. I won't give away all the secrets, but that's going to be our opening video. And the big thing is the neuralizers, right?
Yeah.
Erasing people's minds, right?
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
change that? And so I hope you come to this year's State of the Economy. Again, it's February 6th, and it's going to be pretty bitchin'. I can't wait for all the stuff that we have going on with the room. So
Yeah, I'll be there. I love it. Love coming down to see you and your team. And we'll listen, we're gonna hook you up with an episode 2
okay,
because I know you got more to say.
I
So,
I always do. I always, I appreciate it. I'm sorry I don't mean to wear you down, but I'll definitely jump on another call, do another one at a future time.
yeah, awesome. Well, listen, Landon, thanks for your time. I know you're busy, and wholeheartedly, I love the Dare to Retire effort and movement, and keep up the good work.
Hey, we appreciate True Shares and all you do too, Mike. Thanks.
All right, talk soon.
Awesome. Take care, buddy.